So today we're going to look at creating a cylinder, they call it kinetic type, like moving posters, motion graphics, and then using expressions to make some of the sort of hard, the animation part of it easier when you've got lots of layers. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. So you can do this with CC Cylinder. A lot of things in After Effects. There's more than one way to skin a cat. But the reason for doing it this way, using these all individual layers, if we turn off shine here, is you can sort of create this on animation here. Which would be a little bit tricky to do with CC Cylinder, and it's a good way to look at the basic construction. So what I'll do is we'll first go through the basic setup, how you create it, a little bit tedious, and then I'll show you how, by applying a few expressions at the very beginning, you can just duplicate that same layer, and you can have here we've got a control null. And I realized going into expressions is obviously this is just a taster. When we do the course, I teach After Effects, by the way. The expressions we won't get to until a little bit later, and it's something we can sort of spend a lot of time on. But I realize that some students have already done tutorials. You may have a little bit of experience with motion graphics. Be looking to level up. Phrase, but level up and sort of improve your skills. So expressions, I use them quite a bit, and they're worth knowing. So okay, so the fun part of like creating the cool animation. Let's create a new comp. What I might do quickly is, so I realize my screen resolution may not be working for everyone. Let's see if I can quickly come on, display. Brain is not working. Display settings. Okay, well, if you've got any problems seeing text on these layers, put it in the Q&A. But it's not like a step-by-step tutorial, so it's not the end of the world if you're not. Okay, right. So I'm going to create a new text layer. Shift, Control, Alt, and P. Big fan of shortcuts. Helps you work quicker. But you can always right-click and go new text layer. And if you've got an Adobe subscription, you get Adobe fonts with it, which is quite handy. So you can activate certain fonts, and they have font packs. And why have I got Microsoft Bing's by default? Because I never use it. Microsoft Edge, that's fine. Browser packs. Okay, so I have installed this I Love Sans font pack. So we've got a nice bold sans serif. Oh, I'm so frazzled from running here and getting buses. Sans serif, it's sans serif, isn't it? Actually, I only learned the difference between fonts and a typeface yesterday, and that was on the Mark Mo and some Mayo podcast, which is kind of pretty embarrassing given that I've worked in motion design for 20 years. But a typeface would be, in this case, it's my name. So we've got Termina, and then the font would be, say, Termina blank. So if you've got different weights, that's the font. The typeface is Termina. But you didn't come here for typeface tracks. So onwards and upwards. Did I just accidentally delete my text? Okay, here we go. So in text layer, type in cylinder. And oh god. So I've got my puppy that I just got is crying in the background because not only have I left it out while I've gone for optimistically thought I could go for a walk and leave her alone, but now I've just run upstairs to leave her alone for another hour. Anyway, so yeah, let's go and find Termina because it just looks better. Okay, so that'll let's bump up the size 150. Okay, so first thing we want to do is make it a 3D layer because the way we're going to create the cylinder is basically take the anchor point, which is where you rotate the text around, and we're going to set it back in Z space, and then we're going to duplicate them so they create a cylinder. So actually each face, it's not quite a perfect cylinder because each face will be sort of flat text, but it'll give you a cylinder effect. Like I say, CC cylinder gives you a perfect cylinder, but you know, when you have these individual layers, you can animate them on with a bit more with more options. So first thing is to make it a 3D layer. So that is this little box icon here, and then when we check this, we activate it to make it a 3D layer. So if we press P for position, so these are our master controls here. And so we've got transform controls. And if we check and uncheck this 3D box, you can see our position goes from X and Y. So X, Y, and then if we check the box, we now have Z position. It's a bit difficult to see it when you're flat on like that. So when we're setting up 3D things in After Effects, sometimes it's handy to have two views horizontal, so we can see the left, or in this case we've got, if we click here, we've got custom view. So custom view is just looking down and to an angle, and then if we duplicate that text and move it in Z space, you can see where we've now got a bit of parallax. But that's why we can see in this view here on the right, a bit difficult to make things out. And the parallax is when you have if you had a camera, Shift Control Alt C for camera, and then if you move that camera to the left and right, parallax is if you're sort of in a train and all the bushes on the train track are sort of whizzing past and you can't see them, and then you've got the fields rolling past, and then you've got the sky barely moving. So that's parallax. If we move this on the that's the Y, and then the X, you can see the parallax effect here, and it's sort of more pronounced if we'll bump that all the way back. Yeah, so you'll need the layer to be 3D because we want the anchor points. Control Z all that. The anchor point, which is press Y for the anchor point tool up here. We'll press A for the anchor point shortcut, and we zoom in here. Like here, our anchor points is we've got these fancy new controls which are slightly daunting me because they only introduced them in a recent update and haven't really used them. But it's good for if you haven't got the anchor point tool selected. If we just have the normal tool, which is the normal move tool has been. Does make rotating, moving things around handy. My habit is pressing, the shortcuts, doing it this way. But if you're just starting out, this is handy, and it might be something I get used to. But I'm old, and new things scare me. So A for anchor point, and if we move the anchor point back, it's one of these annoying. Well, it's not annoying, I suppose. It sort of makes sense, but you move the anchor point, and the text moves because the anchor point is so the anchor point is now, let's say, 500 pixels in Z space behind the text. Okay, but we haven't changed the position, so the position of the text relative to that is still 500 in front. So if you wanted that text to say where it was, we put not minus 500. All right, idiot, 500. That text is now back where it was before, but now the anchor point, A for anchor point, is 500. So now when we rotate it, instead of it rotating, again, let me show you where it would have been. Solo it. Solo is this little dot here to hide the other layers. And then so at the moment, the anchor point is right at the flush at the bottom of the text. Let's put in it. So if we scale the text up, the anchor point stays there. And then when we rotate it, on the X, I'm flipping. Whereas this one, because we set the anchor point back, rotate it on the X, we've got this rotating, which, as you can see, this is kind of more what we want to create, and the illusion of a cylinder of text. Excuse me while I sip some water. So we've got one of those. Now, obviously, we need quite a few, and we're going to do it the tortuously slow way first, and then I'm going to sort of show you expressions to sort of, as to how it could be a time saver if you set them up at the beginning. So we could have them. If we wanted them all static, we could have them controlled by a null, parented to a null. So yeah, let's do it that way. Now I'm going to put delete this rogue one here. Oh, autosave. Have autosave enabled, folks. I can give you one tip to take away. I've had students who have said the dog ate my homework, or words to that effect, not project setting. Control K. What is it? Preferences, not project settings, preferences. It's preferences, my phone's not working, and it's preferences. Auto save. Yeah. Edit preferences, auto save. Yeah. Have that ticked. Save every 20 minutes, and I can guarantee you're going to get a little bit. Don't know what you're on about After Effects, but it's fine. So what do we do? Okay, so anchor points down at the back. We'll have let's just say we have 20, 20 layers. What we've got here, we've got 20, but we won't do 20. It's going to take too long, so we'll do 10. But what I'm going to do is the cylinder, because that's the layer name, comma 01. Now that's going to make no difference for what we're doing at the moment, but that's going to come in super handy for when we use preference. In fact, we'll need it when we use expressions. Let's go back to 1D. Second. Okay, so we could have now if we're happy with how this first one's set up, we can duplicate it. But we're not completely happy because this endpoint being right in the middle is a little bit annoying. Now, I'm gonna put a shout out to a script that I use. When are you on screen? It's switch my workspace to this, and so I've got a reposition anchor point, which you can find on I think it's on AE scripts. Might even be free. If it's not free, it doesn't cost much. It's pretty handy. So at the moment, the anchor point is there. We want it in the center. So we can just we've got position at top left, top blah blah blah. But if we reposition center, it repositions it because otherwise we've got this sort of fun game of like moving, like pressing Y, moving up the anchor point. Actually, if you press shift, it's not. I suppose it's not that hard. It should snap it. Yeah. So shift and control together. But there are occasions when it's what's it done? Okay. So maybe then it wasn't. Maybe I'm making too big a deal of it, but I've definitely found it easier just to click it and have that centered. Okay, so anchor point is. Oh, did it center the? Interesting. Did it center the anchor point E and Z as well? Let's press R, find out. Yeah, might have done. Okay, never mind. We can just. Well, actually, one thing we could do. We could add a very simple expression. Simple. So the position is because we want the output to be set back, so like that, and then what we're having to do is compensate by adjusting the Z position. Okay. Now there should be an expression for that. This may not work, but let's give it a try. So the Z position. Let's say we want the Z position anchor point to be the same as the Z. Yeah. Okay. So now we've got expression enabled. And let's just check that it works because that's okay. All right. So now what it's doing is basically instead of us manually compensating and adjusting it, you can go, okay, so how far back in Z space do we want that anchor point? And the good thing is it's not moving in the position of the text now. So if we wanted it 1,000 back, it's going to be too big for this cylinder that we've got here. But we're not having to, we're not having to faff around. It's just we've got this expression that's constantly looking at that. So there are some expressions where you type out loads of stuff. You have to get your head, you have to do some clever maths. There's some expressions which are just super basic, and you've got these pick whip tools, which are a bit like parent tools, and you just kind of go, hey, look at this value, and whatever that value is, that's going to be the value. And if you want to disable expression, enable, if you hover over this equals, you'll disable it if you want, and then you just got your Z position 0. So we'll put it at 500, and this text here is red, so that's 500. And now if we duplicate it, and then make this rotation. Now, if we want it to be a perfect cylinder, we're going to want all the layers to go around 360 degrees. So what I might do is go minus 36. That's not going to be enough. So 36 divided by 2 is 18. Okay, that's better. And then, and this is doing it manually. So obviously, a bit of a we can duplicate them. And do that. This is a little bit of a time saver. So we find the one that's, so this one's 36. The next one's going to be the 36, 18. My brain. 46, 54. So 54. Okay. It's been for fun. It's been for fun. So maybe I've realised I'm kind of skipping the bit where I'm doing it manually and I'm going straight to expressions because it's already painful. It's already painful. So let's just skip the instructions bit because also it's half full. We've only got like 10-15 more minutes. So what I do generally when I have expressions in my projects is and I will say I think it's a good way to work is to have the stuff that's the stuff that you want to control, the important stuff in your timeline window, have it at the top. So I have here, there's a null, not doing anything, it's just sat there. It's got effects on it. So I've got Z distance, rotation spread. We're going to do the rotation spread in a second. Master rotate. We've got these controls that if you press U for keyframes, U reveal keyframes, and so if we do the Z distance, it's going to shrink them in. Okay, and you may already sort of have an inkling of how these expressions are working in from the one that we just looked at just now. But it makes life a lot easier because if you've got loads of layers in a timeline and you're fishing around for the like where are the keyframes on this, none of these layers actually have keyframes on because they're all expression driven. But so I tend to have expression controls and cameras, lights if you've got lights in a scene. The adjustment layer will be at the top. The important stuff up at the top, and then use shine as well. Just shine the layers that you don't need to see. You're finished with them. Shine those, hide them. Just make it as simple as possible for yourself when you're working. Because when you're if you slow yourself down, you're gonna get less done less quickly. And I always I will try to imagine, if I drop dead, not that I'm Woody Allen and I spend ages contemplating my own mortality, but just, you may hand the project on to someone else and kind of take pride in working tidily and thinking, if I hand these projects over, would they be cursing me? Would they want to work with me again? If you get freelance work and you want to, well, not freelance work, but if you don't want to be hated by your colleagues, if you want to get hired, stay hired, keep your, have your shit together, said the guy who 5 minutes late. So yeah, so top one, we have, okay, so this has already been a bit of a pain. Okay, all this working out the sort of the rotation, blah blah blah. So I'm going to introduce you to an expression which is a bit of a maybe a little bit of a head fuck at first, but it helps with these things where you have lots of layers and you can sort of spread them out or distribute them or whatever. If I press EE on this layer to reveal expressions, so EE for expressions, U to reveal keyframes. You can see I've got this. This is the magic expression here. So it's this layer.name.splits. Okay. Basically, and we'll look at, on the course, obviously you're going to sign up for the course. Can't wait to see you all. We'll look at expressions in more detail, but basically this expression is saying, look at the name. So this layer name, look at the name, and then look for a comma, and it's been comma, and then look for the number after the comma. Now, do you remember when I said I'm gonna rename? I'm gonna delete these. Annoying. I'm gonna rename this cylinder and put comma 01. Now, one reason for doing that is, when you duplicate it, it will create an 02, 04, 04, blah, 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 which you may not, you're not going to get that exactly if you just do a new layer, type in a load of text. Then if you duplicate it, yes, you'll have 2, 3, 4. The first layer hasn't got a number on it. So this way we know exactly we have a layer that's 01, and 02. So I'm going to add for that expression. You can have that expression in any property. So you can put it in the position, you can put it in the rotation. I'm going to put it in an empty. Oh my god! Put it in what's called a slider control. So in your effects windows, need to have this selected. In effects, we can have expression controls, and there's certain controls you can apply that you can run expressions of. And so we've got slider control, which basically is, it's not like it's a null value. It's not doing anything. And so we're going to call this our, the x value. Basically, it's going to be what it is. It's going to be the number, but other expressions can link to it. We can link to that from other expressions. So it's all very well having comma 01 here and comma 02, but we need to feed it into an expression. Okay. So I'm going to press Alt and click on that. It's going to open up our expression control. I'm going to paste it, and now you can see it's feeding back a number of 1, which is what I want. I want to be able to access that 1, and then if we take this effect, x value, copy and paste it onto 2, press E, we've got 2. Now, that's probably not blowing your mind as yet, but then if we take so we create a null, Shift Control Alt and Y. Let's try that again. Shift Control Alt Y, and we'll call this I'm anal and OCD. So I put it controls with 2 little colons, turn it off, and then make it none, and then that always sits at the top. So here, controls at the top, and then I'm going to add a slider to that as well. So this is going to be the rotation spread here, which, if you remember, why wouldn't you? If we keyframe, you've got them sort of rolling on like that, and then sort of slowly rotating. So if we look, we've got press U. Rotation spread going from 0 to 360. Now 360 full rotation. So go into our comp, so we can pull this rotation spread. So just renaming these is just for our own benefit. Doesn't change anything. It just means stuff makes sense. So rotation spread, and we'll give that 360. Now the rotation value of these. So at the moment, the x rotation is both 0. We want it to, instead of us manually placing these, as we were doing before, which is a fab, we want the expressions to do that for us. So it's probably going to be easier to see if we have 3. So let's have 3, because then we can see if they're being distributed. Okay. I'm just going to save my project. You can tell I haven't been working for a couple of weeks. As the muscle memory of control S saving. It's not there. So we want the expression here, and so let's do it with this one here, cylinder 03. So we're going to say, look at the rotation spread. Okay. Right. So if we change that to 289, you can see it's reading 289. Okay. Now we've got a variable here, which is the 03. So that's gonna separate them. So what we can do is go RS, which stands for rotation spread. So that's a variable, and then we're going to put equals. So we're setting up variables. So we're setting up, it's like maths at school. It's like x equals this, y equals this, and then x plus y times y or whatever. So we've got rotation spread equals that. And then we'll do a semicolon, I think, which is the dot and the comma. Go to the next line. Go on to the next line is the big enter key, not that enter key. Okay, and on the next line, we've got basically our x value. Now we need to, it's giving us an error message here. That's fine because we haven't completed the expression. So if I press Shift EE, it's going to open up our x value here. So x equals that. So we've now got two variables. We've got rotation spread and x, and semicolon, and then the last part, which is going to be the maths, is RS divided by x. Okay. So basically, it's saying in expression language, look at the rotation spread, which is 360. Look at the x value, which is the 3, and then divide rotation spread by 3. Okay. And so it gives us that. So now if we copy that x rotation and paste it, okay, now that is doing it to okay, so we might need here, we might need an OO. Let's just duplicate it, but not. Okay, so hold on a second. What have I done in there? Okay, let's look at the x value of this. Is x8, yeah, that's right. So right, yeah. We need, what I forgot to do is we need a variable for the number of layers. Yeah, it needs to know the number of layers. Okay. So we need another expression. And okay, we can fit this in. We can put this in. So there is another expression which is layer count. Okay, and that basically expression code for that is pretty complicated. So again, can copy and paste these expression codes, but essentially it's looking for layers that start with text here. Now our layers are called text, and it's given us an output value here, 19. Okay, so copy that, and then we're going to just change it to cylinder, which is our one here. So it's going to delete these. And slider, let's choose the layer count. Now, if we left that at text, it would read 0. So we just need to go in and change that to cylinder. Okay. And sliding. So the maths on this was less simple than I thought it was. So let's do it on. So I'm disabling the expressions. I'm going to. Hold on, let me keep one because I don't want to read something out. So we need to add another variable, which is LC for layer counts. And then whip that to this. So instead of it simply being RS, so we've got RS divided, so we want RS divided by layer counts. So what that is doing is saying the rotation squared, which is 360, divided by 4, okay, because that's how many layers, text layers we've got. And then we want to multiply it by X, which is our, in this case, O3. So what we need to do is put these in parentheses. So we've got these square brackets, which is going to say, make this calculation first. So make the rotation spread, which is 360, divided by 4, which is 150, 180, 90, sorry, which is 90, and then times, so that's, by the way, the times, multiply, blah, 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 is all these keys here. So we've got divide, the asterisk is multiply, and then plus or minus. So RS divided by LC and then times X, and fingers crossed. So let's, so I'll tell you what, it might be easier is just rename that O1, delete the others, and I'm duplicating. There we go. So we realize that, let's go ahead and duplicate a few more. So, I mean, if I'm completely put you off doing expressions, it's basically, you know, there's a little bit of setup at the beginning, and you know, if you start using expressions, you trade off the setup time with what you end up here, which is, if we shine this, is being able to control a lot of these elements just with, you know, 1 or 2 keyframes. So the layer count, we don't animate the rotation spread. To do that, you know, to animate each individual layer, you have to keyframe each layer. It's just much simpler to do here. So yeah, and you know, once you've done that, the illusion of 3D is just like a really kind of really cheesy cheat, basically. So we've got our and again, I'd set up quickly let's just quickly set up another expression here. So we've got the the anchor point here is set to 500. So we can set up another expression here, which is, we'll just call it, well, no, we'll call it Z depth, maybe. You could call it cylinder, especially call it cylinder radius or whatever, but Z depth. So we'll set that to 500, and then our anchor points doesn't let us separate dimensions. Right. When you've got three values here, what you can't do is simply go make it 500, because then they're all 500. Okay, so you've got 10, 10, 10. Now, I wonder if we put, this may not work, but if we put value, yeah. Sometimes value gives you the whatever the value is set to be, which is not here. So do you know what? Just to let's try one more thing. Not 1. So we'll let us input values. 5. Okay. There are other ways to doing it, but not gonna get through that and finish this webinar on time. So now we can control it with the set there. Hold on, it's not something didn't go right there. 400. No, it did. No, it did. Didn't look like it. So okay, so let's duplicate like 20 of these. So, and then maybe pull it in to 300. Yeah, that's why it's cool. Okay, 10 minutes left. Now, it's difficult to see, isn't it, here? If we change the background color to black. So what we want to do is hide the back. Now I'm just going to cheat it because we're 3D layers. So I'm going to literally put a black solid in there. Make that a 3D layer. Move it back. This is where the side view I want left. And then just move it there. And sometimes you just got to cheat things and just mask it off. Draw the mask here. Let's go back to one view. And press MM twice. We've got on our mask controls. Another shortcut. So let's bump that up to 400. Maybe a bit less. 300. Yeah, and then maybe touch a thing. Okay. Ta-da! And we don't have a master control for rotation, but with a bit more time, we could add another control, which is monster rotate, having rotate. But yeah, I think that'll do. For this webinar. Thanks for joining. Thanks for bearing with me.